And I hope this is our final stage of painting, because this is turning to be almost like a third hour of work on this painting. We worked hard on this, like bigger shapes and smaller shapes of this house, which took a lot of time. We didn't do windows, lights here yet, but right now, while we still have a lot of grays on my palette, before I clean this up totally, I want to do a road and maybe some like kind of trimming here and a little part of there as well. All right. Again, many things are like do not need any more explanations. And if I feel that I wasn't clear enough, I will say a few words about that. So that area is in shadow. I have my neighbor accountant there, and he speaks loudly when I do recording. I hope you don't hear much of his very loud voice talking to Alexa, to his two secretaries. And I'm doing this recording. When I tried to do recording live, quite often I was so tired and exhausted. I really thought that you're also falling asleep listening to my not much energetic voice. I want you to feel slightly better, at least slightly better, much better overall. Maybe they should go darker. Again, if I talk less, I paint faster. And you don't want this to be turned to 5-hour webinar, don't you? I think that would be big torture for all of you if I did so. If you're from EASTON, you can buy directly from me for a better price, or if it's not sold within a couple of weeks, I will send it to Trip Gallery in EASTON. It can be purchased from them. I think now, yes, I've had a bigger synthetic. No, I have a bigger synthetics, and I don't want to go with bristle. Actually, yes, it's like, again, it's like a new scab. It's too gentle. I can easily scrape it down to the bottom. So let's start with better lit areas. We can go warm here with our mixes. I think this pavement must be lighter. And in some areas you don't have to put your medium anymore. As long as you're not planning to paint on top of it anything, you don't want it to dry fast. You don't have to, unless you have a special reasons for that. Maybe you're giving this painting or sending it to the show, which they usually don't accept paintings done under instructions. But if you want to give it to someone, it's fine with me. So you don't want to give it wet, right? So that cleaning kind of liquid, that medium which I use for cleaning, can be used as a working medium. The Terpenoid Natural, but I think it does much better job as a cleaning brushes. All right, foreground road, too much purple. I think I need to squeeze a few drops of that Galkit gel, because Galkit gel you can apply like more than 20% and it will still be a nice layer. If you apply this one more than 10-20%, then it will be very slow drying layer, so we don't want to have problems like that. You need to get used to it when you work with specific mediums. There are some stages which make it hard to move paint on top of it, but you have to paint that area. There are not many situations when you have to, but again, when you teach, like when I teach, I know that my different students use different mediums. I can say why I'm not working on that area, even though my overall protocols and explanations wise should be done now, and then I'm not doing it, so people get confused. Like Zufar, in your previous videos or in the beginning, you said you're going to do this and you're not doing it now. Why it happens? Because let's say surface is not dry enough, doesn't accept paint. I think there is a lot of light on the street, which is right behind the corner. At the same time, there should be a lot of light under this street light, right? So let's melt in that paint. At the same time, I don't want to go crazily bright, because it's still not that bright, let's say, as light in these windows. Let me try small amounts when I'm going with these bright colors. I can always dull them. Not the bright, I mean intense colors. Should be correspondence between light here and light there. And again, I think on your camera view, you have it not that intense. See how nice orange looks against green, or reds against green, as a poppy field, red poppy field. So for days we like blue on edges, let's have trees, like purple, but during the night green works very nice, especially when some moonlight, not in this view, but some moonlight could be considered as present and impacts the whole picture. All right, I think we got slightly better light effect, and behind the corner should show that there is a light as well. And again, that's the kind of micro glow situation. So I need to have a transition through warms, through warm colors. It doesn't sound nice, through warms. We're not here going through horror movies, talk about transition through warms, but we created very soft effect of light shedding from above. Right. So what else do we have in this zone. So we did work well on the bigger shape here. We worked with grays here. You know, some flowers, they are white, but of course in dark there's some greens, but just going with greens would be slightly kind of will decrease excitement. Let's go, we'll have their pink flowers. Don't go for like from beginning with very bright ones. You can start peripherally. Make sure watch values. That's quite important. And then to put on top whatever thick layer of paint, it's not gonna be a big problem. And of course, if we go with pink, it's not always pink. We need to go slightly adding orange and different type of warmer, maybe reds or cooler reds, so that how it works better. Again, as I see on camera view, what you got there is pretty dull and dark. That's what makes doing videos for nocturne painting and even demonstrations quite difficult. So for your excitement, let me just do those flowers to the point where they're supposed to be. I'm adding this bright color, but in small amounts. And we'll do windows as well. Slightly better, and I think I lifted that those windows. Probably could make flowers lower. Maybe that could work better. Yeah, but I need the bottom of these windows to be visible because it's very strange looking windows now. Are them? Yes. So with this dark kind of line between flowers and windows, we create for flowers specifically dark background, which will help them to look better. Look if they're kind of lit by light. Still looks dark. If you had some zoom in, you could see that slightly better. Okay. 1 minute break. I will clean my palette. All right, I have cleaned my palette, and also out of all paints from studio like level, only one paint was really much I'm not happy with. That was a cadmium orange. That's quite important color for me, and I'll be using it a lot at this stage. So I decided that I need to go with like artist grade paint. It will be added to many mixes along like a lit area, and also yes, so we're going to use more of a thicker paint application. I added ultramarine blue, which I also is getting used a lot for darks, for sky, for shadow parts, etc. So we are ready to continue. I try to evaluate also darkness, like darkness wise, this overall what you see on your screens is pretty close to what we need, even slightly lighter. You can look at the whites here, and whites almost kind of bleached. You cannot see anything there. So And I see more in shadows here than you see on screen, because again, human eye is much more sensitive than camera can be. Camera can be great at zooming, but dynamic range of human eye is better. Also, I made it slightly warmer because I think initially it was a little too cool, and now I got them much more, I would say, accurate temperature-wise. Anyway, we're ready to continue, and after a little break which I took, and you're watching this part definitely in recording, you could stop as well and take a break. I know painting, let's say this area looks very strange, and because we did not do final touches there yet, and we have a lack of light in that area. But at the same time, I don't want to push some colors, some lights in value too high. So kind of doing final corrections, because we still have many other areas to go over. All right. So we stopped somewhere. So the road and this part and this building, I think we could, if thinking that we can finish soon some areas, maybe this part we can work on. It's all dark, and even though it's all bound to this part, but in nocturne is the problem. If you do a main lit area, fine, and then maybe your shadows could be too dark. Here we have expansion of our kind of interest to this area of restaurant. Definitely, many people like going to restaurant, and that's actually pulls and draws attention, creating the whole kind of like a triangle, or again a sail shape of the focal points area. So what's easiest here to fix, and if you want to have some little kind of feeling of little quick victory, we can work on sky, because sky again here in value is close to what we want. Otherwise, yes, it's E, and there is something what we need to correct there. I like that we see separation between a roof here and sky compared to our reference. So I can have here a little bit of open sky area, and I like how dark is this area, because it gives me contrast between brick wall and this part of the sky. So let me make it add some cerulean, and I think the cerulean is more opaque than transparent, and ultramarine is more transparent than opaque. So with this next layer, we're taking more paint. Looks like a lighter one, and it still doesn't look enough light. So now we can see that difference. Working with a soft brush. Even here I have even like a softer filbert. It will create feeling of a cloud here. Next to the glow, no sharp edges. And it's so convenient when our shapes, outlines of all architecture and other big shapes is already defined. Have been defined. Could go with a bigger brush. you can go with a bigger brush. I think maybe this border between cloud and sky is too prominent. I'm also right on the go creating a shape for the cloud. Maybe show some little opening here. See how that will work. Yeah, I think now this reads better as a cloud. It's nice to have some definite direction. We're not I like it better this way. So cloud and sky is not just the same paint. In like cloud, we have just a kind of more of a paint and no white, and like the open sky area is just like the same paint with some white, right? And that's not a right way of approaching in paintings pretty much anything. And sky in this situation is not a exemption. Let's look at our reference. Yeah, I think we got the little too tall chimney. It's actually not from the center, it's kind of from its side. Maybe we should do it like this and barely visible. But I really enjoy going with a thicker paint application. Does not even have to every brush stroke to be mixed on palette and then transferred to canvas. Sometimes we can put pretty much pure paint right on our canvas. And then mix if we have enough paint around. It will be more of a turquoise, kind of lighter. Greenish paint in there. All right, that's good enough. Don't really like it the way as it goes here. Let's we may possibly have that sky left as it's there now. I'm pretty happy how that looks. So while this area is still drying, I may want to work on this part. Here, I'm really afraid to break that beautiful texture of bricks. At the same time, it's transparent paint. I don't want to leave it like that. So I need to create something very bunch of paints which are close in colors and values, and with very proceeding just by feeling, very slow steps, try to cover that area at least partially with more opaque paint. More of a cooler reds, warmer reds, like on orange side. You see, I think we're getting better feeling of brick wall with warm light touching it. So along our lines of drawing, trying not to make wide swings with brushes, we're moving from light towards the shadow along these windows, adding more of a blue into our mix, making it look darker. I think this edge did not really look well defined, but I see my line, which I applied earlier. And I don't want to, when I paint, to do those measurings. I should be quite confident what I create as a plan is worth just following it. If I'm creating any brush strokes, I go or vertically or along bricks. Many of my brush strokes are short. Where we don't need connecting lines, we can really paint over them. Now, I like how this brick wall looks like. It's not a thick paint application with bricks. You can go thick, but then it still will. Then you'll need to create several paint layers. And what I see in here, if I create this extra light effect, I may need to go with some like lighter brownish paint. Yes, our painting project turns to be a longer one. I like this orange better. It has more of a pigment, more of opacity and color of that color of cadmium orange that I got used to and like. Just need to be also concerned that we can create feeling that this wall is not flat. We don't really want that to happen. There's some light in here as well, and even some light comes because awning it's very long. It's rather awning over the kind of like walk here. Can make people a little confused looking at this scene. Let's have some light on our almost like a black sign of a restaurant. I'll create first green because it's black, so I need to go with some colors. I cannot just go with reds. It should be complementary colors as well. So this is so far is just very dark. I barely can see any colors. And then on top of that, I can go, if I want, with orange, and that will be different type of feeling, not the same as created, like even with raw sienna, as was created by the brick wall. I think that's creates better feeling of a black sign lit. So yellow ochre will be my color of choice to create center of that glow. What's difficult here is to create feeling that it's still flat surface. Hopefully with this outline, the golden outline, we can get it there. Small amount of even of red shows up here and there next to greens. So it's not paint, it's a combination of many paints. Often we think the same way when we paint grays, and the black is not an exception. Looks like almost like a dark bronze. So now I don't see here again on my reference, but I like how that part, which is like white trimming in darkness, how that looks like. So now adding, oh I didn't, yes, I'm using ultramarine blue and a good cadmium orange, adding some white, and we're creating this gray color. And if we want to shift towards warm, we're adding just more of ultramarine blue, of the cadmium orange. And if we want tiny amount of, I'll call it alizarin type paint. So let's see, value wise, maybe it's too light. Let me just go with this part. Definitely a created feeling of light, but I think still with flat brush my lines could be more accurate. The flat brush is better for architecture. Same light, but maybe with less trends. So go more of a purple and blue. Can do a kind of like a bottom lit trimming here. Okay. And I do not know. It just suggests some sort of molding here. This part looks too light. Let me get that part down in value. Oh boy. Architecture could be tricky when we paint it. So straight lines, perspective, angles. Because of perspective, many things need to be evaluated, because every brush stroke can destroy that feeling. Not every, but kind of like in critical areas, brush strokes can create feeling that something is wrong there with perspective, with height. No, it's too much of a blue. don't think much of a light really reached that area. Right, what to do with this awning? Maybe front, since we have light, it looks like some from across the street some light is reaching. You can get a very dark mix of cadmium orange with ultramarine blue without much of white, just keeping it kind of brownish. And do it this way. Not even sure that the sign here is like that. Also, as they put blue outlining or in creases, we can go here with the green, small amount. That's really could be a nice, helpful trick. Not sure, can you see much there or not? So for me, this part of the wall doesn't look vertical. Okay, things like this may work well. Do you see that this line now level kind of goes down? It's not supposed to be. Our eye level is somewhere here. So we kind of, that line should be almost horizontal and slightly going up. So let's finish all this area, this corner. And then that will be close to ending of this building. There will always be some need of touch-ups. Going slightly higher. Now, we don't see much in here. Shall I try to do windows? I think they're quite independent compared to other windows. And I made, just to make kind of like angle, like stronger here, made here on the bottom very shiny light. I often like to make it almost abstract. It's hard to say what's there. I don't want to put there some people, even though it would be nice. But it's too little objects to try to fit. Maybe just suggestion. And windows could be different. Say this window might have a stronger light, or maybe even a reflection that's in that eye. I mean, in that window, I'm sorry. Also, maybe edge of the awning could catch some highlight here. Maybe it's a curtains. I think there is some sign was in the window. And one of windows might be closer to a stronger light source inside. If you feel that the like this alignment is not perfect, you always can add some object here. Let's say the post, maybe with just very little suggestion, And then this foundation for these windows will look accurate. So let's work on those flowers. They look pretty cool, I would say, in light on my reference. I think this is not the light from the window, maybe from this street light, or maybe I just was wrong painting it. Let's try to work now not with yellow ochre but with the raw sienna. Create a different shade of warm grays. And often, again, this is like a game, finding it right, how things work. It can take time. If you're in like very restricted budget of time, you may want to watch what are you doing and say, like, you know, this is too much. I cannot spend that much time. Okay. All right, let me leave it like that. I just still don't like how it goes down. We know there is some green. The whole thing should go up, I think. Because even though it's not a straight line, but overall this line should go around specific level. So it's overall direction of this whole, again, garland goes up, even though there are some bumps and up and down. We still, final point should be higher than here if it's supposed to be horizontal line. I want to create those tiny, beautiful flowers like this. I should take a smaller brush, but I think I'm not there yet. So it's done with a thicker paint application. Definitely should be done with thicker paint application. You know what? Why not? Why not to finish all that area? Let me take the smaller brush, round one. And even though it's detailed, but we need probably do some sort of zoning of our painting process. If we finish this well in details, it's not a bad thing. Then we can go like with that mid-ground, this kind of foreground for us. So slightly thicker paint application and more precision, definitely more precision. So flowers. I know it turns to be too peripheral. Okay, I think that's good. It's too much. It starts looking like Kincaid painting. I don't think this specific view will go to kind of golden collection of my webinars, which worth working on it again to create a master painting demo. But share in your comments below the video if you liked it. I just feel that it takes too long. It's not bad view, it's pretty nice view, and it teaches you a lot of approaches in painting Nocturne in Town. That's probably the main reason why you're here. You would like to learn how to paint Nocturne in Town, and that is why you chose this subject to paint with me today. Oops, I think we need to have here get some connection. We lost that connection. Okay, that's slightly better now. This is very close in colors. What would I do? I would definitely add there kind of like a red, kind of bright, like cadmium red type of paint. Let's add white to expose cooler shade. So now they are different, that part and this part. Don't look. So these things cannot get confused. And I really like how here we have this little glow under the awning. That looks good. All right. So this seemed to me pretty dark. It's definitely dark, but not that bad, not that much. So let me make it lighter, make it more reddish brownish. Probably could go here with thinner brush. And let make me this sidewalk, which is again made of red bricks. Adding alizarin type of paint, cooler reds. Again, you think if you mix this paint and apply it, will be that paint? No, you need to put a good amount of it. Otherwise, it's just getting mixed with wet paint on top of which you're applying it. And with the pressure, you can control how much of that you want to be mixed. You just barely drag it with barely touching. It'll be less mixed. If you're pressing more, will be more mix. Same thing is there. I think it's too dark. Don't want to go with pink there, otherwise it will feel that it's the same thing. So distant things, softer, almost like creating a feeling of shadow. Things get mixed and disappearing. Don't forget about greens. Greens really can neutralize your reds and oranges, turning it into browns and grays at the same time. Put it as a separate brush strokes, partially covering and partially not covering what you want to get rid of. I have a feeling that this is too much of a turn. It's not as on my reference, which is also a little too much, but on opposite way. But this one, I think this could be slightly better this way. And then how much of the indefinite colors I got in there. Of course, you need to correct the lower edge of this, let's call it molding. Remember, we have here post. Still don't like how sharp is this edge. You can see on my reference I softened that, and that was absolutely right maneuver. I can go with, I went with just with a different type of paint right over that connection. For me, this seems to be like kind of glowing. Well, it's glowing locally only on the bottom. Let's expand that glow higher. My paint amount on brush is very little, but you see my coverage of the surface is not solid. Very delicate line to be applied to show bottom lit. Overhang, which is tiny in this house. And if I need to show that chimney direction, something like this could be right thing to do. I moved it, but it looks like centrally it looks better. So what's happening here, really, I don't see top of the sidewalk, but it's there. I'm sure I will need smaller brush. Top of the sidewalk is perpendicular to many street lights, so it should be light enough, even though the overall sidewalk probably is darker than as a local color. It's darker than the wall. Then kind of like it's fading and hiding there. So see, this little highlight changed a lot in perception. The only thing I don't want this edge of the sidewalk look like it's a pipe. It's a flat thing. So little by little we're filling up this space. Did we finish with this area? Not really, because what I want, I will take yellow ochre and create that molding around this sign. Maybe it can be too much. You know, I should start probably not with yellow ochre. I will go with some reddish color first. We'll try to have small separation from the wall. Probably barely can see it. And sorry, there is no zoom in our webinars. I need technical staff to do that for me, but I do these webinars on my own. Cannot hire anyone. And now let's go with slightly lighter. So now we have a feeling of strong light over that area, isn't it? Do you feel it? Yes. Okay, but we'll definitely will need to show some light source here. And I don't think that light source should be lighter than our street light. Street light here should be king of all lights. So let's look at our slight amount of glow. That looks better now. I did not create, and you don't always have to be descriptive. You may just suggest again that these lights are coming from whatever, like this. That's usually enough to tell the story. These parts, we did this molding. We didn't do side molding, right? So this part is not done, and it should be definitely darker because this part accepts perpendicularly, and here we have just sliding light. That's always not that strong. I would rather go with a greenish. Have some greenish under painting, and that looks fabulous. Creates contrast with the red bricks and with pinkish light on upper trimming. That's good enough. Also, why won't we create those crossbars? I'm not going to go through the whole system of them, but at least a few of them. Like this can make a big difference. Slightly too much. I think it's a little too much. And just suggestions here. And this is good enough. Why won't we work on those crossbars across the street? You need to understand they're kind of not on the level of the wall. They sit a bit deeper. And if one goes from side to side almost, others could be broken. Starting somewhere in the middle, going like this. Again, more softening. You know, I'm trying to expose more of the light down, but why won't we kind of slightly erase this part? Because overall it looks like it's too much of angle going down for me. And maybe it's just because of this edge is just getting, looks that it's too low. How about this? Should be better. Yeah, I think that's better. Also remember, we have here this back of the street, traffic light sitting on this pole. Even though it's not a light source, but since it's painted bright yellow, it's kind of shining. You see? And like to have too much of black, I'd rather go with some reddish here. Excuse me. I want to create on top of the post next to the light some this highlight. There's a little bit of the expansion of the glow over black parts of this post. We need to also realize that these traffic lights tops, let me show it here, they are kind of quite distinctive. Not much visible. It's very strange. If you look at the center, it looks like it's a red light here. I'm not sure why it's so, because usually red is on the top, right? And then green at the bottom. So if I want to add, do you want to go with green or red? It's up to you. I'm choosing red as it was initially, so I probably need to show red somewhere here. And we do not see that light, but we can see glow. especially when there is a humidity. And in Easton in July, it's definitely humidity is there. And to make that green even glow stronger, I'm adding some green on top. There is a crossbar here where the camera is sitting. I did not realize they have a camera here. I'll do underpainting light, I mean dark, and then on top of that I'll paint light. Can do it later, can do it now, but not much of a yellow. Something like this. Where you want to apply thicker paint and thinner line, of course you cannot make it with a big brush. What you do, you take a smaller brush, load it well with paint, and create that line. Here's a glow part, highlight on this bar. I think there is also some box of pedestrians, traffic light. Why do that? I think it's all look pretty abstract, and as long as it doesn't disrupt overall feeling and structure of it, and rectangles quite often don't, creates nice feeling of some sort of, not mess, but structures of the of most cross walks. The gradient seems to be too flat. Let's break it. I'm not going to yellow to make it lighter. I just still want to go with yellow ochre with no cadmiums or anything like that. Adding these sparks. In Russian school they usually don't put those sparks for just the chromatic effect, but I mean you don't put it everywhere, but since you have wires and some structures, and during the night specifically, there's always something barely visible create that line. I mean, not like those dots of light. So why not? I want to create a little bit stronger feeling of light, of what's happening inside. I think I can go with this strength of paint. Doesn't look like it's competing a lot with, this is kind of still muted light. Here we have pretty strong street light. This glow here doesn't have to like bleed all directions to far distance. If we extend it, we usually like kind of chop it off, and then when we paint things around, it's too strong. I think now it's getting more organized, but you would think around this area should be more of some sort of sparkles. That door is far, and it should not be that dark because it also catches some light from the street. It's not sitting in shade. That's far things, and have softer edges. There are many close things around, and they may have a always some boxes sitting here, and some blinking like lights inside of those boxes, or just maybe if it's, since it's made, many of these things are made of metal, they catch some reflection either from distant car or from distant crosswalk. I'm going to do separation of this crossbar where the camera is sitting from this house. That worked. And also at the bottom of this banner poster, I think it's banner rather than poster, can be like this, catching some cool light, and then the bottom of it may catch some light from above. So we'll make sure that there is still some little line of shadow, dark line is preserved. Don't go with black. If you see some white lines in darkness, your brain knows that it's white, but the camera will also try to read it as something light. But when you try to look abstractly and think, what, there is something there, quite often it's not. It's a very dark gray, often of indefinite color. I think we need to work on those lights. So, and to make them not much competing with lights here, I think I pretty well solved this issue here. They may look competing, but these ones have sharper edges, those are kind of softer, and definitely we can go with as less intense paints as raw sienna. So that is why I made those windows pretty dark. By the time I was finishing painting it, they were probably dark enough. We can go, let's say, with a cooler, or not even cooler, but less saturated kind of reds. So you see, I'm kind of now was able to destroy those crossbars. I don't like what we have here, but we can get rid of that thing. And I want that light in that window to be dimmed. I really like how it's on my painting. Shall I go with browns? Let's start with browns. I'm sure cooler greens will be also a nice option. And we just can leave some areas which may represent a reflection of scene on opposite side of the road. So let's find that gray. And I don't even know if this trash can really helps us or turns to be a problem. turning to be a problem or not. I think that's better. It's just hard to understand why this window is shorter, but in reality, that's how it is. And at times you think, let's have all these windows on the same level, because it just doesn't read well. Just very hard to, it really breaks feeling of perspective and that the building overall geometry of it built and shown accurately. Keeps telling me, oh, there is a mistake. Couldn't be like that. And that door kind of also is turning to something indefinite, but still try to catch, to use a chance to show horizontal lines. Maybe something like a shadow under the door. Softer edges will push it back. So, shall we do that car or not? So here's the bottom. Quite that area is open for parking. Maybe it's not a bad idea to create a feeling there is a darker car standing there. Doesn't matter, it could be like any color car, but during the night many of them look darker and cleaner. Why I like it? Because I like I like that we have a chance to put extra red dot in there. It's coming from parking lights of this car. Will it be much glow around it? Probably not. It's not that dark and not that. It's not the only light here. We don't want too much attention to it. Having it like this. And if we have a car, definitely some of its sides will start catching this street light, and there will be highlight on it. And thinner brush can create that point of highlight. Yeah, it looks like something like a lacquered, shiny things there. Until we finish painting, we can make a decision looking at it, at this area with side vision. Does it really gives anything great to this painting, or is just or it causes more a problem of perception? So let's make that street like better lit. Maybe it's too flat color. There must be some like another street light behind. And we may have a little bit more of a light presentation here around this street light. All right. I think it's overall starting looking better. I believe there is a building right behind, and maybe this dark spot, when it's too dark, is not appropriate. It will get it into value of a glow, and maybe even slightly lighter. That reads better. Before we can say like, oh, this is end at least of the painting session, so I could explain you many things before I start doing my own touch-ups. We'll need to take some sort of break. So with fresh eye, with a fresh vision, to look at our painting again, to correct something which was right on surface here, and I just couldn't see it, just because that's how our brain gets tired and stops seeing obvious mistakes. Don't really like how that reads with trash can. Should be probably shifted here. And then that part should be connected. Grays, very, very gray parts. If anything is made of steel, very likely will have a highlight on its edge, hard edge. Something like this could be helpful, just for better reading of the texture. Don't have any artist that's there, which we've seen on our reference image. Not the painting, but on photograph. By the time I was finishing the painting, they've been all gone. So it was up to me to put them or not, and I was so tired to put anything just from my memory. Create that feeling that it's a glass, it's a whole skill, which is good to practice, learn, explore, and of course use. So it's a complex painting. If you are still here watching it, I'm glad that you tried. and I'm sure some of you got success and really enjoyed it. What I realized could be quite difficult as well. Plus, my style of painting is not much spontaneous thing. I'm trying to explain things. You can start doing this way and then say, like, you know, my style is different, but make sure you can do it this way. So you understand all nuances of painting. Let's look at the photo. Oops. So we have here on another side of the road. So we have here street light on the post. Post is as high as this. Okay, that's close to what we want. Okay, we have here some red color on the top and orange for the crosswalk. And that red cannot go to white as we see here. What I can do, can go with orange color with tiny amount of quinacridone. Of course, for these points, you can have your cadmium, a red available. That's one of just few situations when you may need it. Otherwise, we can leave pretty well without any cadmium or reds. Sometimes mixing colors can be done not with hair part of the brush, but with back of the brush. Kind of apply it, then apply it. And that paint can be looking more shiny. You know, I'm not sure, do you see difference or not? I like overall seeing how these kind of different light sources here all organized pretty strategically. I just don't like this. It's not very bright here, and I don't want it to be too bright, but I don't want all colors here to be all the same orange. That is why we have often a couple of reds, couple of yellows. So let me go with a kind of, maybe with cooler pinkish light source. Color. And we can also make that all area look different, adding a small amount of green, cooler green. Barely touching, but definitely more complex and more interesting than maybe on top. You want to go with a deeper green. That the whole feeling of this, the window has changed. Not sure can you feel it or not, but once you try it on your canvases, with a small brush, with tiny application, you can make that shift. And here in shadow, you can have not just purple, but green, dark green. It will make a feeling that there is a TV in front of it. It could be commercial, it could be a stand with whatever green and blue lights, and that kind of things change a lot in perception of the street scene. So not just orange and blues. Even on top of this car. Again, considering, so this post is kind of all disappearing now. Still want to show some bright steel like highlight. Go with very dark. We cannot make our traffic light floating. Just need to probably find for it a slightly different position. Right, if in the beginning that was like one line for the post, now it's made of several parts. That's absolutely great. That's how it usually is. You have some sections, have some bands crossing, lines, some highlights. Let me know again in your comments if this is too long. If it's too long, you always, of course, put 1.5 faster. Play, and pitch will be still the same, but I will be speaking much faster. I realize for some people who think and move faster and just want to watch, I'm kind of creating. For me, it's a thinking process, but you are just repeating me, at least most likely. So for you it could be too much, just too much. Watching it with this very slow speaking. Paint here, I think it's too thick. Doesn't accept any paint. Again, different parts of metal constructions catch, highlight here, highlight there. It could be yellow, it could be green, because during the night, like in town, we have absolutely different light sources. Here we're very close to the light source, so we can go almost with a white highlight. And you're on the street, that could be some trash, garbage, and foil, cigarette. So it could be a different type of things right on the street. And if you think that you still want to show some, I wouldn't like something on the street, I would go just with the yellow line, the visual line. White seems to be a little too much and too bright and too boring. And then where it's closer to stronger light, or even where you can treat it as a something which can reflect light like this, and even slightly changing its hue. Something like this. And then maybe turning to more of a softer line of slightly bigger diameter. I mean the width here. Like how these flowers look like. If we have here pretty soft, I mean warm light source, soft white, and here a lot of orange, maybe something like this should be shown at this point. And in shadow, I don't know what color to use. It's too cool. This is too light. Definitely there will be space for brown. Maybe even alizarin type of reds. Brown is a red as well. Just kind of like very colorless, desaturated, as I like calling it. At some points you will see that the green can be observed, just not too much. Also, I like in this area to have some parts of something to be seen between. I know there's a car here, but it has wheels, kind of maybe quite ahead, and doesn't go everywhere. It doesn't go that far, so sorry, I'm getting tired as well. Not sure how tired you are, but I am. Because I'm doing it within one day. Okay, I think I'll make a break at this moment, and will let my eyes rest so I can look for final touch-ups if any needed. I see like this line and this line do not correspond very well, so the angle here and there should not be different. We can lift this part, and I can lower this part. And also break into parts, because that's how it is over there. and maybe not camera. If I put camera there, that will look like a bird sitting. That would be very strange for the night time. What bird could be sitting there? All in town. That would be give absolutely different meaning for entire painting. I don't mind to give a different meaning, but that's a whole new story. I will need to think about it, what that story should be about. Sometimes it's just too bright. Should not push color and the value so much. I didn't on that side create a structure for traffic light. What do we see in there? Something like that. Trying to place it. Not sure will that be a good idea or not. It's usually breaking a solid area to a few parts helps to make that area quite again on street. There are street signs, there are some structures, post for pressing crosswalk, signal button. There is a wall, has some moldings, some cast shadows on it from some other structures. Just make sure when you apply paint, especially closer to the end of the painting process, try not to kind of like put paint and then try to find the shape. Think about shape in advance, so when you apply your paint, you don't need to go with many brush strokes to get the shape right. I tend to do so, but I'm trying to apply not much of a pressure. I know my colors could be cleaner and more accurate if I was better with choosing accurate place for brush stroke. Quite often you see me kind of shaking my brush before I put brush stroke, and kind of like aiming, but you know, there is no real aim, like trying to feel how and when and where I need to touch my canvas with my brush. A little bit of green here. Don't remember exactly what's really happening here. Definitely this part I think deserves more of a light. Let's look at my reference here. Yes, maybe not, but looks like there is some blue. Expands from here to here, L shape. It's another nice pattern. So this, just with the color, we get some sort of abstract shape. I don't think I made that light out of my mind. It just was from, again, from the theater's front kind of lights and commercials, inviting to next shows, or maybe inviting people to come and visit plein air Easton, most likely. If you feel that's too much of a blue, that's not so difficult to get rid of it. Adding complementary colors, and blue is so easy disappearing. You want to put it slightly lighter, no problem at all. I would think if there is any blue light shading on this building on the bottom, definitely a little band of blue light will be on this trash can as well, even lighter one. Too much. I want to finish actually at this session. I think I see most of what I would like to correct. So you can take a break and watch it after. Take a break, look at your own painting. I just feel tired. I just feel tired. Feels that we're lacking some little dot here, point. Don't know what this could be. Always there are some wires, something else hanging there or set up specifically. Also, many these houses, when they have on from the bottom again, so the bottom down light, or up light, I would rather say, creates feeling of the night. You know, like face with a flashlight. That's how it usually works. Don't forget of this very powerful maneuver which you can do just at the end often. On those openings of windows. Again, not always blue works well for darks. If you feel that doesn't work, try like Viridian green, which is also looks almost like a black paint. If you see some areas just get so kind of deaf, black and uninteresting, do some color, extra color implementation. Doesn't have to be bright, just suggestion. So of a brown on top of the cool, like one of the brush strokes next to the cool greens. I don't like how this all shape got hidden. Maybe I can make it. Looks much better. Let's just correct the bottom of these windows. And try to, maybe make it shorter. Traffic light or whatever, so it's not going to be something on the way. Even though I'm kind of finished working on this view, I still feel that it needs more touch-ups, and I would like to have a thicker paint application. So if you are still interested to see how would I finish this work, welcome to join me. So when I look at the screen, I do not see from where I'm standing that there is a kind of, this still looks something's wrong with this awning and also with all these angles. So let's work on it, and I will spend some time. I cannot say that I can fix it in 1 second, but definitely can make it better. So I may need a little bit more of a medium. Okay. And I will be working with flat brushes of smaller size and of bigger size, maybe somewhere with a round one. All right. So this house definitely is a central one. And what I see on, again, on my screen is somewhat different from what you see. I mean, my screen, I mean, what I see in front of myself. And why it's so, it's clearly because I'm looking under some angle and some perspective lines, which here could be very critical. I might not really notice. You know, if you're drawing, let's say anything, let's say a book, and then you're looking at your piece of paper under some angle, that definitely will create a wrong shape. Also, I definitely want to have a thicker paint application. I don't have much of a comment here. Say from where I'm standing, I really cannot see how good I have this level. I can tell you though, compared to this, that the windows are more narrow. And now after some period of time, like even after half an hour, I can see that I can paint over previous layer with no issues. Top windows are good. I'd like to add a small amount of green here. And even some blue and purple. So this distribution of brush strokes seem to be working slightly better to create feeling of light, not from the sky, but from bottom, some good reflections. I think it looks better. It looks definitely better. So then we have this light going along this way, along its side. And then on the bottom, we have here some cooler light. And what if we go not with blue light, but rather with a cool green? I think this reads better, adding those complex shadows areas. All right, I think this overall house looks better, more colorful. Trimming on its side, I will go with a smaller brush. We'll go with yellow ochre, a little bit of pink and green. So here I need to be quite accurate. I can really drag paint, but still, my brush, still make it slightly interrupted, and in some areas just go with a little different shade. Say more of a yellow or more of a green. That creates much more vibrant accent from the bottom. And more of light on one side of overhang of the roof. One works better. Now you can see that we have that feeling of the light from the bottom. Also, partially it helps. What helps is this little accents of light under windows. Also, even though it's distant, we have similar zones here. It seems to be a little too much, maybe. At least on video it looks like it's too much. Let's make it bluish. And maybe, why not have it shown slightly going here. There is nothing wrong that we have so much attention to that house. That's definitely one of our focal points. It's not peripheral object. Also, awning was questionable to me, its direction, and even though here it looks absolutely natural, that it's on its kind of like, you see the angle here. I want to rather try to hide it, maybe not to make it that bright. Still, this edge could be better visible. Okay, what else? Maybe darker windows. To make it darker, I cannot just go with a thin paint. Since many times I went over these shapes, I kind of know how it's defined. And just apply accurate brush strokes. That should be enough. If something is wrong, it can be corrected at this stage. Same thing with the window here, which has very soft edges. All right. Here on top, I have applied some greenish paint. I need to add medium, otherwise it turns to be opaque easily. Just let me check also angles here. If there is some constructions coming out like this, maybe there should be some light visible. Maybe not, but adding some suggestion can solve issue of a question of this appearing hard to say is a chimney or not chimney. We can also say that if there is any other light source, green, what could be? It could be a street light from opposite direction, giving that a greenish shade which complements so nicely pink and orange and even purples. So now these windows under awnings. So window top will be a reflecting awning, and that's going to be very dark inside, especially if the window has no light in it. When there is light is coming from the window, it can highlight slightly. Inner side of awning. For you, this whole spot looks dark. I see slight light difference, value difference. Let me, for you, to make it more visible, like that. Does it make difference for you? Probably not much. It's definitely visible for me. But what can be seen and visible when I'm standing close might not be visible when someone is looking at this object from a distance. So these edges of rods, I think I need to take a smaller brush and make, with support of my hand, to make, I will make this sharper, cleaner edge. Of course, this horizontal object need to have some so it's horizontal, so there should be some angle of horizontal line running towards vanishing point. Even though these are separate rod, they are standing so close to each other, so I don't think I will much separate them one from another. So here's a traffic light for pedestrians. I think overall this top yellow traffic light box looks pretty neat and accurate. The top border could be defined better. So I have all these grays. So I decided to separate, decided to see, just to check how that's going to look. Let's say there is a like a rectangular roof behind our glow of this street light. I think we can solve it this way. That looks pretty well. So are we set with this part? Hard to say. I see on my photograph here there is some detail which can make this line sharper and more definite, because let's say here I'm losing that definition of the line. Not bad. Path here really looks brownish and reddish. Maybe I don't need to make top of it much lighter because of, again, that could be shadow side. You know, this area could be in shadow as well, as you could see. And that shadow side, in fact, is cool. It's not just dark, but a kind of blue. Not sure what kind of light is just across the street. Maybe it's a LED cooler light. Again, it's not always a bad thing when you have LED lights. Just can create more variety. And also you see at the bottom here we have some light from the pedestrian light. It looks reddish, just like in this area, which is also very cool. And out there, to make it cool, I'm not going to blue, I'm going to green. And we'll add that green as a discrete different brush strokes. That reads better. In fact, I like these fancy cars backlights. The only thing is they're so close to light in the window here. But shape-wise, shape I think can save us here. So what we did with this traffic light, it's a very strange one. It would be okay for a study overall, but first it's a red light because that's the traffic light. So let's make it red. That's okay if it's not very bright. It doesn't have to be bright every time. Plus we always can surround it with some darker paint and make it brighter. Plus adding green, make it also shine brighter. Some constructions on top here. Really do not know how to treat them. Maybe it's just some with extra lines like this. So something is going on over there, and just make sure it's not too busy. Doesn't look like out of any tune. Trash can. No, I'm dealing with this trash can as if it was a very important element. It's not. But again, it's rather, I know, so uncommon for many places these days. Don't want to put there any walking people. In fact, that's how it's a It's even hard to say on this photograph how far this awning is going. I'm going to go with green here because again I'm expecting green light to be in opposite direction, like running from this side. I think I found pretty nice shape for it. What else I need to revise here? I think the bottom of this banner and its post, that looks better. I'm glad it's not really much competing with this awning, because this awning has a softer edges, at least next to that banner. Good. How low this post goes, I think it goes up to here. I think there is some cover. Been sitting under that cover. There was a table or a bench with other artists. Right. So how this sign looks like. I think this little too sharp edge. Do I want any extra highlight here? Why not? When it's gold, it can shine from a distance. Of course, it's not gold, it's kind of made as gold brass color. I think this back stoplight of the car cannot have a dark halo. But what will it have? It will definitely have this car will have a little stronger highlight on the roof. And even though we have like foundation of the post, I need to make under car this little kind of area where it goes deeper, like this. All right. So my highlight will be not yellow. Let's go with white with small addition of cadmium, of the raw sienna. And of course that's not just a dot, it's often as a line with thin line. And then somewhere in the middle it can be lighter, or on the edge, like it should be like some sort of dot. That, I think that should work well. So I'm not sure with these flowers how good we are, because here the flowers are white. What I liked in older version of painting, there were like two cascades of these flowers. I'll try to bring them back, these two cascades of flowers. It's too light. I think it's too light. Okay, right now it looks too bright. This looks too green. Let's add red to green. Now we have no green. Does this look more like flowers now? I think it does. It looks like flowers now. Don't forget to add medium, because medium will give also value. Otherwise these paints, they just sink in value. I mean, they go up, and then it's so easy to take wrong value for the next paint. Mix. When it's dry, we'll varnish it, and then there will be again something to fix. We don't want that anymore. Cannot constantly fix. We can understand when we start painting and then need to fix it, because of when we were starting, had no idea how that will look. But right now must have better idea how things will look. Trying to create which is yellow, which is not that much intense. I see there are something like inside of that house, some greens maybe. Will that look nice or not? I don't know, but complementary colors can create that vibrant interaction. Why not to try? Of course, that green doesn't look green, it looks like rather reddish. Something reddish. Can picture inside be like that? It can. Of course it can. I think this side is not vertical. Could be also some red light right under the street light. As we see here, plenty of green. Same way, red will be also reflecting, because the pavement is not dirt. Even in dirt during the night, you'll see that reflects, or a lit area during the night definitely. Things like this will be visible, not during the day though, but during the night, absolutely. And sky for me now looks pretty plain blue. Is it bad? I think so. So let me use cerulean blue and I'll add some green into it. Small amount of white. Doesn't have to be any bright color. So how to make it more interesting? We added green. Is it visible? Not really. What else could be there? Some violet actually could be. It can be. But this is also looks like part of the sky. Let's turn it to be part of the roof. Very gently making it different than dark blue. Adding some brown. And now looks more like shingles or any other cover of the tall roof, but not like sky. That's an improvement. And in halo, it's not always just kind of all this orange. There is at times, if you look even here, you will see there is a presence of green. Again, not much, but barely visible. So now let's continue working with our sky, because we're kind of working on doing block, right? Some block. sky as a gradient, lighter towards the horizon, to the spot where sunset happened, and getting lighter towards zenith. I cannot just add orange into the sky, right? But I can add a slightly warmer shade to the cloud. But different, of course, from red brick. Warm shade. You barely can see that. Maybe you cannot even see what I'm doing, but I'm adding a small amount of violet to the cloud, at least to like a bottom side. So again, trying to evaluate and look at the entire painting here. What else could be corrected? I don't feel that this looks nice. Maybe I need to remove that. Light in that window. Let's make it dark. There's something like there in this window. When it will be almost dark, may look better. You see how much assumptions I do and tryouts, because it's not straight road how to paint it when you're working like creative way. Again, I don't want to give you to show you I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I need to show you the whole thinking process, and you can get tired of it. I think that's exactly what you're dealing with when you're outside painting. You are deciding how to make your painting look like that view which you're trying to represent here. And there's no simple answer to that. That seemed to be slightly better. Just want to make in shadow wall to be not that dark as a deep shadow, because the wall is pretty much a white. Our tree still looks pretty shapeless. I need to show if there is any light touches some of these branches. So cooler green and warmer green. I think we may have some not much of the tree branches expansion, but since we moved the tree slightly to the left, I think we can pretty clearly add a little more. You know, leaves are dark usually, but not always that dark as you could see them during the day. They also shine and they reflect some light. The top of the tree have pretty high chance of being dark because that's the part of the tree which is farthest from any light source, and you barely will see any green, presence of green there. Just will be some suggestion of a green. they can go darker here. That's the darkest I can apply. All right. So how about all this area? I like soft edges there. I see here kind of, I think it's a little inconsistent. It doesn't have to be red everywhere, but this is somewhat absolutely crazy gray. So that's better. This part here, maybe need to have a little bit straighter line. Sharper line. I think right now this looks pretty good. Shall we kind of connect here to light spots? Maybe that's where the lamp is sitting. Is it too complex, too much? Let's simplify. Again, there is no any clear view where the light source. Again, in modern life, we know that light source could be quite tiny. Lamp, bulb, sitting on very fine, delicate, like a wire or construction. All right, I think overall I improved quality of this view. So this red on the bottom is my signature. Let me try to, this is pretty dry now, to work a little bit more on the foreground. I cannot say that it's exactly that much light here as on our reference painting, but maybe we need to have a little bit more of a light. Maybe this is way too dark. And definitely we'll try to get rid of transparency of paint. But you know, this is a road. It doesn't have much of bumps. It has some bumps, but it's not that typical, you know, for having bumps on the road. So we need to create it with a good feeling of balance, of how the pavement have some imperfections, but it's really not a, you know, unpaved road. It's pretty decently flat surface. It might have some patches, maybe some imperfections when it was asphaltus was laid. A bit of green. Works perfectly with cool. Green works perfectly with cool reds. Still looks pretty dark. Maybe we can create some sort of texture somehow different way. Maybe like shapes of lit areas can give bring some interest. So it should be gradient and no perfection. I can say now that I'm finishing this painting. I don't see any areas which irritate me. I like overall how things look on this painting. Let's wrap this up now.